Today we're going to be working on this 86 Monte Carlo. It's a nice cruiser. It's a 350 4-speed car. Looks good on the street. But unfortunately the previous owner pretty much destroyed the dash and the gauge cluster. So we're going to see how bad it is and see what we can do to fix it up and help my buddy out. Well, as you can see, it's all pulled apart. A lot of the tabs are broken. Pretty much every piece of plastic is either cracked or broken somewhere. The console, if you're looking here, the console was zip tied together. There's a lot of creative wiring going on over here. So it's basically a nightmare. So I'm going to stay away from all that extraneous stuff. I'm going to try and get the gauges working and get the console looking respectable. And I got a couple ideas for that, so that's what we'll talk about next. Okay, so after looking online and grinding the gears in my head for a while, here's the solution that I've come up with for the Monte Carlo. Now, some of the broken pieces are in the Resto catalog, but they all seem to be back ordered and stuff, so I'm just going to work with what I've got. Now, the 4 small gauges in the center, they still work. So all I really need to concern myself with is a speedo and a tachometer. Now I decided on these 2 gauges from Autometer to replace them. These 2 are only a tiny bit larger than the original gauges. So if I just grind this down a little bit, they should drop right in, no problem. The speedo is a 3982. It's a GPS speedo. And the tack 3996 is a matching tack. So what I'm going to do first is I've got to repair a crack here in this dash. And after I get that set with some JB weld, I'm going to take a die grinder with the smallest or the finest available roll, and I'm slowly just going to work it around until I can get these gauges to drop in. So that's what I'm going to work on first. Okay, so as you can see, I took my time, got the gauges put in there. They look good. The next problem is these gauges don't have a lens on them now. The original lens is cracked in a couple places and broken, and it won't fit, and it looks like ass. So what I did is I went and got a piece of plexiglass. I'm going to take these back out, set the plexiglass in, cut the holes, and then set the gauges back in. That way there'll be a lens all the way across for the middle gauges. Okay, I got the gauges out. I set the plexiglass in. I'm just simply going to draw around, and then I'm going to cut these out and set it back in. Okay, when we were talking the other day, I bought a piece of plexiglass to use as a dash. Don't do that. I ended up cracking it. It was a pretty thin 1/8 inch. Plexiglass is pretty fragile. So I went out, make sure you get polycarbonate. It's a little bit thicker, very forgiving. I just put it down on a piece of wood, went slow with the hole saw, and no problem. So polycarbonate. Okay, so I'm still trying to repair the dash here on the Monte Carlo. As you can see, the main problem is the bottom was all broken out, where these 4 bottom tabs connect. He just broke the bottom of them right out. So what I did is I took a piece of plastic, just like this. It's ABS plastic. I used some JB weld, and I made some little rectangular tabs, and I glued them right on top of where the old ones used to be. And I'll drill a tiny hole up through, and that'll give the screws something to grab onto. I got the dash in, everything's working, so I just want to try and get this repaired, buttoned up so it doesn't rattle on them. So I got the 4 tabs there, I'm not quite sure how to fix the top yet. So things on the Monte Carlo here are rolling pretty good. Give you an update. I've been working on the dash. As it turned out, nothing was really broken up top, but things were a little bit bent and out of place. So I laid on my back and I used a pick, and I could see up in there, and I lined up the little metal brackets with the holes in the dash. So I got the top screwed in, all original, just like it should be. So I threw a piece of tape down here and taped this. And I also put the bottom piece back in down here to help line it up. Now, I had those plastic tabs that I put in there. Now the interior screws like this are basically 1/8 inch screws. So I got in my drill box and I got a drill bit that is a tiny bit smaller than that. So I'm gonna just now drill up in here in each of those 4 spots, and then I will run a screw up there, and then that should tighten up the bottom. Also, as far as the Speedo goes, they give you quite a bit of line on the receiving unit. You can put it in the front, the back, anywhere you really want to. What I did is I loosened up this screw here on the glove box, let it drop all the way down, and then I ran the GPS line across here and up along in here, and it sits right in here. In the windshield. If you weren't looking for it, you wouldn't even see it. Just another update. One other quick thing that I changed on a Monte Carlo here was he had a switch here for the electric fuel pump. It was a cheap $2 switch, so I decided to get more of a race grade switch in here and a light, and so boom, that works for his fuel pump. And that was about the only other upgrade I made. Okay, so while I was finishing my buddy's dash, I cleaned up a bunch of the wiring that was underneath the car. I don't know who had the car before my buddy did, but there was 1, 2, 3, at least 4 switches going different places. And it's a Monte Carlo, but for some reason it seemed to have U-Haul wiring in it. So I took out about 40-50 feet worth of crap. Hopefully that'll help clean things up a little bit. So I don't know, let's go take a look at the finished product. Alright, so I got it finished here as best as possible. We got the 2 new gauges in. We got the polycarbonate across the other ones. There's no zip ties holding this thing in. My little fix for the bottom worked. All 4 screws got in the bottom. Just waiting for the customer to come, or my buddy to come get it, and that should be it. A couple of boxes showed up while we were working on the Monte Carlo. With it being gone, I think what I'll do is I'll cut these puppies open, and we'll check out what's next for the Camaro.